Welcome back to the Orange County Convention Center here in Orlando, Florida, here at the International Bowl Expo. Mike Flanagan, Bo Burton back with you here at the Storm Live set. So, Bo, fun day so far today. We just got done seeing Hank Boomershine, Victor Marion talk about the products along with our professional athletes from the left side, Rhino Page, from the right side, Jason Belmonte. And we got that new Optimus and that new High Road Solid coming out, a couple of great pieces.
Real good stuff. And you know, being actually a pro bowler, but I'm back into bowling a lot, and I still bowl in league with my kids and all that. This is an eye-opener for me, Mike. I mean, I enjoy my bowling, but you almost have to either understand the tutorials that Storm is putting out to the people there, or bowl on tour to really stay state-of-the-art. It's much more important today than it was back when I was learning, and it's been a learning process and very entertaining for me.
Yeah, and coming up, don't forget, we do have one more keynote today, a little bit later at approximately, looking at my notes here, 1:45 to 2:30. You're not going to miss this. They're going to actually demo products. It's going to get kind of fun up here. Might even get a little messy. They're going to have some lane oil up here. They're going to show you how to clean some bowling balls, and that's going to be really exciting with Randy Peterson. But hey, joining us now, we've got a couple of great guests. We've had awesome guests, absolutely, over the last 2 days, unbelievable guests. We got Doene Moos, who's our Midwest salesperson from a little bit of the North Midwestern area, and our man Stu Williams, who's my second favorite bowler of all time. Stu Williams joined us. What's going on, guys?
Hey, Mike. Not much.
So, Doene, let's get right to it here.
Yes.
Being a salesperson, you've been out working on the sales floor, and you're here with all of your other comrades. We have 8 total salespeople here, and with Storm. And tell us a little bit about all the excitement that you've been hearing from your customers, your distributors, and all the other folks that have come through the booth.
Well, the main excitement is the release of the Rotogrip balls. All the customers come walking up. They're asking the difference between, the Sinister and also Hysteria. The difference as far as reaction and what they can expect out of them. Very anxious to get them in their pro shops. I'm hearing a phenomenal response about the Optimus. The High Road's definitely drawing a lot of interest, but out of all of them, the Optimus really seems to be really picking up a lot of steam, a lot of conversation about it, a lot of positive input. Very excited to see that ball hit the marketplace.
Yeah, and the Optimus, you mentioned the Optimus, and Stu, I know you've had an opportunity, you're a roto guy, but you've also been able to throw the Optimus. We saw Pete Weber talking about the ball, we saw all the guys talking about it earlier. Talk a little bit about, once in a while you get to dabble on the Storm side, the Optimus and the High Road Solid coming out. What do you think about those?
Yeah, I mean, they're both really good products. I mean, the Optimus seems to be a little bit more ball than the Marvel Pearl was. And then the High Road Solid, I mean, you can't really go wrong with that High Road weight block, and definitely gives you a smoother option, something you can use a little bit earlier than the High Road on the fresh oil, when the High Road's just that little bit too snappy, and you try and make it work because that's the ball you want to get to. Well, the High Road Solid is definitely going to give you that smoother reaction at the start of the block.
And Bo Burton, I know yesterday you were trying to get free bowling equipment from folks up here in the booth, but I know that our sales force get hit up for free bowling balls all the time, and I know that our national staff as well. Stu, I'd like to know, out of all the new Rotogrip balls, how many people have asked you for a free ball since the release yesterday?
Well, my Twitter blew up a little bit, yeah, that's for sure. I actually think that I've actually had more people asking about the shirts. Oh. This is the other shirt in the line. So I think it's because I'm modeling them. They're not used to seeing one quite as big as this. So, they get to see the more billboard effect, so it's worked out okay.
And Doene, being out in the field, I know you get to see a lot of your staffers in your area. You get to go out and you see a lot of the pro shops. Those Rotogrip shirts last year, we had a red, white, and blue one. We had the green and the black one, and now this year we've got the red, white, and black, and then we've also got the other. I believe it's gray, bluish with black. You think those are going to sell pretty well?
They're going to be phenomenal. Matter of fact, it's interesting you bring that up. My last 2 months in the field, I've been getting a lot of requests, phone calls, asking about the new Rotogrip line as far as apparel. The Rotor Gear has really developed a unique interest in the industry. They've always had some cutting-edge product and some really cool designs, and that really seems like it's sparked a lot of interest. There's been a lot of buzz.
Yeah, and don't just tell the folks at home, what states that is your territory, and kind of some of the folks that you see as you go through your territory out on the road.
I cover the Minnesota area, Wisconsin, northern Illinois, northern Indiana, northern Ohio, Michigan, from straight up from there in Canada all the way to the Atlantic Ocean. So we see a vast majority of people.
And I know that you have dabbled in Canada a little bit as well. Yeah, hey. Bo, let me ask you something. You're a historian of the game. You know it all, partner, and best Canadian bowler that you've known over the years.
The best Canadian, I was talking to, I believe Dan McClellan is a Canadian, and I'd have to say he's the best. We had some good ones, Stu, back in the 90s, and one of them made the telecast. And I usually remember of the 500 or 900 people that made the telecast over the years. Was it you, Doene, that made the telecast?
No, it was Mark Doene.
Oh, that's who it was, in 1994 or so.
Yes.
And he went on to some quite a bit of notoriety and represented Canada very well. But I got to tell you something, Mike, and I'll tell you this, Stu and Doene. I have dealt with storm balls and have been back into pretty active bowling for the last 18 months, partly due to me helping this young lady, Shelley Goodwin, in the high school and the college stuff here, just in the local area, just as a very, just fun for me. But I did not know, Mike, that Rotogrip and storm were intertwined. And little Shelley Goodwin comes to me, she says, Bo, I need a hypercell. I said, what do you mean? You got Hank send you this Marvelous and this grape smelling ball. And she chooses her balls sometimes by how good it smells, so I don't know much about it. And I says, well, we're not going to go Rotogrip. Storm's been so good to us. She says, Storm makes Rotogrip, so hypercell we got.
Doene, I know that you and Stu have a bit of a relationship. Stu actually requested that you sit next to him up here in this booth. Where did the friendship come from between you two?
Actually, we first met a few years ago. We hit it off very well.
It's like love at first sight.
Pretty much. Whistles, bells, violins, hearts in the air.
It started to go dark, and then there was just a light above Doene, and it just, he's my guy.
We knew it was going to get a bit wild up here with you two guys here because Bo, you weren't here with us last year, but we did do some live streaming from here, and there was a really funny segment that included Randy Peterson, Steve Todd, and Doene, and they talked about buffet lines and how whenever you go somewhere, those guys eat them out of all the food. So it was a really good time.
Steve Todd doesn't wait in a buffet line.
Correct.
Matter of fact, he hijacked a poor little old lady's little wheeler, wheeled right up to the buffet line and started going through the eggs. We couldn't catch up with him.
So, Stu, you just recently got married. You're from England, but you've moved over here to the United States. Tell us a little bit about what's been going on in your life.
Yeah, I got very lucky. My wife's very beautiful. So we live in Phoenix, Arizona, so it's a little bit different climate to here. It's pretty warm, but we don't have any of the humidity, and it's amazingly easy to deal with the heat. I hear a lot of guys this week telling me how hot it is, and I'm like, it's 95 degrees, that's not hot. That's like October in Phoenix. So, but the humidity is definitely something that's a little bit different to deal with. So.
One thing I had interested in, when I first saw you bowl, and I was around bowling for 40 years at the pro level, we never had any players from England. Now, we had a few guys come over. You may remember the name Mats Carlson,
Yep.
from Sweden, and Junichi Yajima from over in Japan, who was one of the premier guys over there. In England, are there a lot of young guys kind of shooting for good bowling, or are you just the one exception that came out of England?
Well, there's two big exceptions because there's me and Dominic Barrett. But no, I think bowling in England, it obviously helped that, we've had the success that me and Dominic have had.
You bowled the European, is there a European tour? Okay.
Yes, yeah, that's me and Dominic, just to use us as an example, we've bowled on that. I actually won the first event I ever played on the European tour.
Oh, great.
So I had a deal with my father when I went to it in Barcelona, because I'd just finished school, and I said to him, if I win, then you have to back off and not worry, force me to get a real job. And he says, yeah, sure, whatever. So on the plane on the way back, I said, hey, get to lie in bed tomorrow morning, hey. And he just shook his head, and he was like, so the first tournament I ever played, I won on the European tour. So that kind of got me some money to start. And I feel like the thing with the European tour is it has re-entries. So you'll play, But if you don't find the right solution, then at least you get another opportunity
What
to try.
a great experience.
And
Wow.
I feel like that's why right now there's a lot of European guys who are bowling very well on the professional tour, because we've had more experience at when we don't know what to do. Whereas when you play on the PBA tour, you go the 1 week,
Yeah.
and you find a solution that you find a problem that you don't have a solution to.
Has there ever been any talk of maybe taking a few PBA tournaments, and Doene, you can answer this too, of taking that format where I didn't like it the first 6 games and I didn't have the right equipment, I can re-enter. I've never seen that on a PBA tour.
I don't think, well, we have the World Tour that has a few of those type events that are PBA tours. But it's a little bit different because on the PBA tour, there's a few differences. Like, for example, you have the practice session.
Yes.
We don't have the practice session on those events. So it kind of, and also you have like ball reps, and you have the PBA tour truck where you can drill more equipment and stuff like that. Whereas that's not really a practical thing in Europe, moving all of that equipment around from country to country. So it's a little bit different, and I don't necessarily think it's the way that golf, I think it's a bad comparison, but we'll take golf. But golf, you don't get a re-entry in golf.
No.
I just feel like for a tour that's below the PBA tour, it's a very good learning ground for people. I think maybe the regional tour should adopt that a little bit more, because I think it does give you a way to hone your game.
Good
playing
idea.
the re-entry.
Mike,
Because-
what do you think?
You know, I run a tournament back home in St. Louis where there are re-entries, and it does help with adding to the prize funds when you can't attract as many sponsors, and people want to re-enter. And I'm kind of a fan of it, but I do think at the highest level, I actually agree 100% with Stu with what he said. I don't think you should be able to re-enter at the highest level, but regional programs, I think that's really a good thing.
100%. I think the regional level, especially when you're young coming out, you're not going to see those type of patterns at home. It's just impossible. The more volume in the back ends, a little less up front, so it makes the pattern more demanding. And if you watch, compare like your better amateurs compared to even your average touring players have to learn how to create hand to get the ball to come off the spot. Amateur patterns or even house patterns, it's sort of given to you. And so to learn how to develop your release, your game, your style, and the knowledge to adjust to patterns and surfaces on bowling balls and the type of surface you're playing on, you need to have those opportunities to re-enter and educate yourself. It'll help shorten the learning curve up a little bit. I think sometimes for the young amateurs, that learning curve is so long.
Yeah, hey guys, great opportunity right now. I just was told Mike Fagan standing by with a guest. Let's cut into Mike at this time.
Thanks, Mike. And we couldn't have great tournaments without great proprietors, and I'm here with one right now, Jim Subler from the Illinois Valley Super Bowl. He's the proprietor there. What brings you to Bowl Expo today, Jim?
Well, every year we come. Our family's been coming to Bowl Expo for better than 50 years. My mom and dad started years ago, and my brother and I have continued on. And there's so much to do here with the trade show and the seminars and the fun and meeting people and seeing the new products. It's a great time.
That's great. Now, Jim is also a member of the Strike 10 board, so he has a lot of responsibility in the industry. If there was one thing you could do for the industry, what would it be, Jim?
I would like to see the industry start a marketing fund, industry marketing fund, wrap their arms around something and make things happen. Like, for instance, have a goal of the Olympics, to get in the Olympics, to bring the tour back the way it used to be. I mean, when I was young, I see Bo Burton up there, and we used to look forward to the tour when it was in our local area, and that was a lot of fun for us.
Jim's actually been running a regional at his center for over 18 years. And I've heard you're a big baseball fan, hon, and I'm actually a bit of an impressionist myself. So I heard you do a little Harry Carey. Is that true?
Hello again, everybody. This is Harry Carey, and I'm here with Mike Fagan, one of the greatest bowlers I've ever seen. I bet you at my center you'd still lose to Pete Weber, though, because he's really good at our place.
Oh, I'm used to that. So thanks a lot, Jim. We'll send it back to you guys.
Now I'm going to be out of a job next year. He's our new guy.
That's outstanding.
Well, Harry Carey, and you're from St. Louis, I'm from St. Louis. He's synonymous with Chicago, but he called the action for the St. Louis Cardinals more years than he did for the Chicago Cubs. So we've heard that Harry Carey. It might be. It could be. It is. It's up against the wall. He caught it.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, he used to mess up all the Cardinals players' names on purpose. We had a guy named Jose Oquendo that used to play for the Cardinals, and he'd call
Plays
him
golf at our club.
Josie Oquendo, I believe is how it was. But hey, back on track. Doene, obviously, in your territory, you get out and you see all the shops. You put a lot of miles on the road, and I don't think people realize how many miles our salesmen have to drive in their territories. When you go into a pro shop, take us through a typical visit, and what do you normally hear from the pro shop operators about some of our best-selling products and what it is we do for them that they like so much?
The first thing I try and do is I really try to get to understand the customer we're dealing with, is our pro shop operator. It's like anything, everybody's style is a little bit different, how they market their business, how they communicate with their customers, trying to see what they want to get out of the visit, where they feel like they need to be educated a little bit more on our product line. Is it more technical side? Is it a little bit more as far as the marketing side of it? I think we definitely go over new product line, how it can benefit them, and give them some insight as far as what to expect out of the bowling ball. All bowling balls have characteristics. They all want to react a certain way naturally, and so just try and give them some insight how they can match bowlers up to make it a little bit easier. As far as educating the consumers, how to adjust surfaces. Certain cover stocks adjust differently compared to others, and where it benefits them, and how to adjust the surfaces correctly with their clientele. I also like to take a look as far as what kind of bags they have on display and accessories, and if I see something they're missing that they could benefit from, I bring it to their attention. I usually carry a little goodie bag in with different accessories. I look like little grandma going shopping on Sunday, and so go over the different accessories. And I'm a firm believer in like the type of gloves we have, the Sportcaster. They can relieve a lot of shelf space where they can use those monies and invest in other products, because they do fit left and right-handed, and have a couple different choices. You can really do a lot with the wrist. Cleaners and polishes I like to bring in, because it's something as far as maintaining cover stocks, keeping them clean is exceptionally important. Having the chance to work the ABC booth for many years, you can see bowlers, and they bring their bowling balls on in, and they would maintain them. The cover stocks are lively, and they'd have less issues. When you get done bowling, put the ball in your bag, let all that dirt and grime crust into the cover stock itself, and plug the pores. You could definitely see the ball not reacting as well, and that definitely adds a lifespan.
Let me ask you a quick question as a bowler.
Sure.
And if I don't clean my ball when I finish competition, Stu, and I wait till the next day, is it just as efficient to let that sit overnight or day, or should you get it right out when it's fresh, or does it make any difference?
You probably shouldn't ask me. Because the professionals are probably the worst people on earth when it comes to cleaning a bowling ball.
Well, I asked Doene then. I mean, should I let it sit? Does it make any difference if I let it sit?
It makes a big difference. Oil attracts dirt. Okay. So when the dirt lays in the bowling ball and the oil starts to evaporate, the dirt will actually lay in the bowling ball, and also with some components of the oil. Without cleaning it, it doesn't allow the pores to actually do what they're meant to do, is actually grip the lane. Also, there's surface topography. So if you look at the surface of the bowling ball and turn the Rocky Mountains upside down, that's essentially what your bowling ball looks like as far as when you sand it or it comes out of the factory finish. What happens is after you bowl it for a while, those deep valleys, they'll start filling up. And so when the ball touches the lane, not as much surface contact takes place, which causes the ball to hydroplane. Ball hydroplanes, it can't hook. Bowling is built around hydroplaning, but to a certain point. If the ball hydroplanes too long, the ball can't go through transition. Can't go through transition, all of a sudden this $220 ball the bowler purchased, it doesn't hook no more. Now they're frustrated. Take a little surface maintenance on it, the ball will last a lot longer.
Following up on that, Mike, and I'm just going to be a little archaic for some of our older peoples, that was the theory of lacquer. When we had lacquer on the lanes, World War II, there was shellac that went to the military effort, so we had lacquer. And what made fresh lacquer so bowlable, if you put it under a microscope, it had little peaks and valleys, and it held the oil. And of course, rubber balls didn't carry it down. Now, after that wore down like that, the lane kind of what we saw glazed, and a ball would try to bite, but wouldn't bite, and same theory with your bowling ball. I got one other question to follow with you, Doene. I'm pretty big, very self-servient here. Is I left a virtual gravity. I bought a virtual gravity. I love that bowling ball. It was 3 or 4 years ago, Stu, that those were out. And I left it in my car. I live in Florida. I left it in the car overnight. I went and picked it up the next day, and I mean, I thought I had an oil well. What is that on my, nobody's been able to answer that question to me. What is that, oil from the ball? Is it resin? What is that?
Well, it's a combination of a few things. Some of it's a little private territory that we can't talk about. Some of it is actually oil coming out of the ball. Resin balls will soak up oil. But it's also some agents within inside the bowling ball that gives the bowling ball life.
Am I losing ball life by letting it get hot like that and let that resin come out of the ball and then having to clean it off, obviously?
You certainly can.
I lose time. I lose some of the ball.
Yes, what happens is your cover stock is flexible, and the more that you lose this, the cover stock heats up, it gets flexible. As it starts to dry, it stiffens up. So the more you lose this, all of a sudden it starts losing more and more and more, and it's a period over time. That's why, you know, we tell customers don't bake your bowling balls in your oven. Number one, they flash, they start warming up at 200 degrees. And so that's way hotter need for even getting a ball near. Number two, it releases toxins. Number three, it just does not benefit as far as giving the ball lifespan.
Well, you answered my question. It isn't completely oil from the lanes. It's part of the bowling ball I'm losing.
Yes.
I just have a question for Bo. So, being as that you bowled a lot further back than we did, what is the roughest thing you've ever hit a bowling ball with? Because the coach of our national team said that there was one time that he hit it with a rasp.
Well, here's what
So,
we did. Okay.
I'm just wondering whether you ever did that.
We got Michael Fagan coming up, and I'll answer that in less than 60 seconds. When you had rubber balls back then in the thing, many players would take a rasp or a corner of a 3/4 edge file and actually put a track around the ball where perpendicular to your ball rolling track. Now, it is legal if you would bowl that in there. Many rough bowling surfaces that weren't resurfaced for a while, and your high rev guy like you would actually burn a ball in like that, and you were looking for that. We're going, wow, it's got a great track in it. Today, it's the opposite. You want it nice and clean and so forth. So
did you do it?
I have taken a 3/4 edge knife and gone, okay.
There you go.
And then the trick, Stu, is to make it look like I bowled it in there.
Well, that's terrific. Well, I didn't realize, I guess you've never used a polished ball in your life. But hey, we'll get back to that in a minute. Let's throw it down to Mike Fagan, who's got another guest.
Mike, as much as Bowl Expo is about the bowling balls and Storm, Bowl Expo is about the entire bowling industry. We've got a couple newcomers at Bowl Expo, and Teresa is one of them. How do you like your first Bowl Expo, Teresa?
Exciting. Really exciting.
Okay, so Teresa is a new proprietor out of South Carolina, and she just purchased a bowling center last September. They opened in November, and she's out here with her checkbook open, ready to buy some new equipment, huh? Tell us a little bit about your bowling center.
We did purchase last year, 2013 in September. Our grand opening was in Thanksgiving weekend, 2013. So this is our first expo. It has been exciting. We are a church that owns a bowling center that is meant to be an outreach for our community. But we have a lot of poverty, a lot of children displaced. Our whole goal is to make sure to have a place not only that they're wanted, but they're welcome. So our community outreach center was meant to create a bowling environment, entertainment with arcade games, a wonderful arcade, a wonderful cafe, reasonable food. We have a wonderful pro shop who I'm really excited to have Mike Robinson as a part of it, as well as that we have lots of tournaments, and of course we have leagues that we welcome all the time.
Well, it sounds like you have the whole package. I think Teresa's doing a great job. She really has the grasp of what should happen in the bowling industry. It's all about community, and it's all about relationships, and I think we've got a good relationship with Teresa already and Storm, so thanks for joining me.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Great interview down there. Always good to see new people coming into our sport, taking over bowling centers and investing in their bowling centers. It's something that we need a lot more of.
Yeah, the bowling industry is a great industry. I grew up in basically the heyday of it. My parents were in the bowling industry over the period of time from the late 30s through the 40s to 50s, and you probably bowled in one of our centers in St. Louis. We had 5 different bowling centers. And then as my dad retired, and instead of me staying with him, I went to ABC Bowl on a tour and went on ABC Sports Television. But it's a tough business, whether you bowl on tour, whether you're doing your job, Mike. Even the telecast side is a tough business. It looks like a lot of things, but there's a lot of work involved, and it's a lot to it. And the bowling business is tough, and you have to stay on top of everything, just as a pro bowler has to stay on his game and state-of-the-art equipment like we're talking about here.
Yeah, hey Stu, I have to ask you, buddy. As everything goes crazy in here. You kind of like to do some broadcasting yourself. You've been on Extra Frame a lot. Do you want to pursue any sort of career, or maybe follow in the footsteps of Bo Burton here? You think you've got the credentials to be able to do that?
Yeah, I mean, it's really good fun. The thing with Extra Frame is I don't really have many guidelines. So you can kind of go anywhere you want with it, whereas when you're on national TV, you've kind of got to be a little bit more politically correct, so it's maybe not quite as much fun. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty amazing the personalities that bowling has had over time. I mean, Bo and Randy certainly highlight that.
Is there any particular moment that you can remember being on Extra Frame where maybe you got your Twitter blew up or your Facebook blew up, and maybe share a fun story from Extra Frame?
Well, there was one time my Twitter blew up, and I was bowling, but you were so obsessed with Pete Weber that I bowled 860 and nobody saw it. I mean, there was that one time.
That one time.
You know, but I mean, generally, whenever me and Randy are in the booth, it's a bit of a carnival. I mean, so Twitter tends to be pretty loud then. It's nice. It's a really good way for the fans to interact, and of course when you haven't got the camera on you, you can just pull your phone out and you can read through a few of the messages and pick out some of the ones that are more entertaining to bring up on the broadcast. It's quite a cool way of doing it, and I think for bowling, I think the Extra Frame product right now is the thing that we've got to push to be able to, because right now there isn't as much money in the whole world like for any sport. So Extra Frame's the best way in which we can push the sport without having all of the expenses of TV.
Yeah, I often wonder if anybody likes bowling at all, and if you're not an Extra Frame subscriber, there's something wrong with you, Bo.
Well, I hear you. I mean, it's the future is now, and it's a lot different than when I grew up. And when I grew up, basically the Pro Bowlers Tour was the dominant part of television. But then again, there was only ABC television, CBS, and NBC, and public service television. We took up 92% of the airwaves. So there wasn't that much sports programming on it. And I say this to a lot of people, that people might not have even liked so much bowling, but they wanted to see sports. So if you go into a candy store and want to buy chocolate, but they only sell saltwater taffy, you still buy the saltwater taffy because you want your sweet. We almost went without competition, but bowling had a great style, that knockout. It's Stu against Jason, and boom, and the next guy, that sudden death format is still the way to go.
Absolutely. And Doene, we got a Twitter shout out here from ndbowling.com on Twitter. Says, we'd like to send a shout out to our regional storm rep, Doene Moos, on the set at Bowl Expo. #StormLive.
Thank you very much. That's awesome.
Yeah, I know you got a lot of people out there that you see all the time, Doene, and you've done a tremendous job for us, and you do a great job representing our company, and so do all the other salesmen here. A lot of them are very busy. We had to pull you away from the computer to be able to, they're writing orders. We've had a very busy booth. I appreciate you taking a little bit of time to come in and sit in and open up a little bit and let some folks know what it's like being a sales rep, and many, many safe travels to you in the future.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. You know, this is really an honor for me. I've had two people that I've idolized my whole life in bowling, one being the great Dick Weber, other being Mr. Nelson Burton Jr.
Thanks,
and
Nelson.
So this has been an honor and a pleasure. Thank you.
You've been great on there. I have to say this to Stu. Nelson Burton, there is a more English name, you tell me. That's where my heritage is to England. You go, Stu.
Thanks,
Take
Nelson.
no prisoners, buddy.
Thank you.
Guys, thanks for joining us, Bo. That's going to be it for now. We're going to come back at 3 o'clock. We'll be here till about 4 o'clock, wrapping up the day. But you really don't want to miss what's coming up next. Randy Peterson and his star-studded cast of characters are going to help you accessorize your game. You're going to find out how to take those bowling balls that Doene was talking about and get them in the correct, proper maintenance program, and find out about our new products, some of the new bags, and all the different things that are going on. You're not going to want to miss it. Coming up here from the Orlando Convention Center here at Bowl Expo. We'll see you in just a little bit.